Years of consuming pornography has literally rewired your brain into a pleasure-seeking machine. Because each time you viewed sexual videos or masturbated, your brain released dopamine, which is a neurochemical associated with pleasure. What the release of dopamine also does is that it reinforces the behavior that was done in order to obtain that dopamine. So your brain has now understood that porn is equal to pleasure and has really cemented that connection. This is what makes porn so addictive and hard to overcome, because it has quite literally rewired your brain such that it now craves the dopamine from porn. You might have noticed that as soon as you go for a couple of days or maybe even a week without porn, then you start developing these cravings for it. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of the times these cravings are not due to a high sex drive, but rather because your brain wants the dopamine hit from porn. And this is the biggest reason why most people end up relapsing. Because they don't know how to stop these urges from occurring once they have decided to quit. They rely too heavily on raw willpower to try and overcome these urges. This approach might work in the short term, but motivation and willpower, they're limited resources which eventually deplete and you end up relapsing. This cycle has probably been happening to you for years now and you just feel trapped. In this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of tools that are finally going to allow you to break free from the cycle. Not only are these tools going to significantly lower, if not eliminate all your urges for porn, but they are also going to significantly accelerate the process of rewiring your brain back to its factory settings before the time you started consuming porn. So let's explore these tools. One of the most powerful tools that I have used with my clients when it comes to managing urges is fasting. Fasting is basically when you go for a fixed duration of time without eating food. The reason why I believe fasting is so effective in lowering these sexual urges for porn is because when your body feels that there is a scarcity of resources since no calories have entered your gut, then its priority is no longer reproduction, but rather the priority shifts to resource acquisition. This is why a lot of people, when they commit to intermittent fasting, they describe that they feel they have very little desire to consume porn and they feel a lot more focused and energetic in that fasted state. And before you say that, oh, I had randomly skipped a meal on Monday and it didn't lower my sexual urges, therefore fasting does not work. No. You got it all wrong. Randomly skipping meals is not fasting. There's a huge difference in the physiological effects of not eating food when it's done voluntarily and consciously versus when it's done involuntarily and in an unplanned fashion. The kind of intermittent fasting that I would recommend for overcoming porn addiction is very structured. For most people who are healthy individuals, I would recommend a fasting window of anywhere between 15 to 20 hours. Let's say you decide that you are going to be fasting for 16 hours. That means that each day you would not eat food for a 16-hour window, and in the remaining 8 hours, that is when you would be scheduling your 2 to 3 meals of the day. After having followed this fasting-based approach for a week, you are going to notice a drastic increase in your ability to control your sexual urges. They are no longer going to feel like those untamable urges that you faced in the past. Here's a bit of a pro tip. The kind of food that you eat after breaking your fast has a massive impact on your sexual urges and your impulse control. If you break your fast by binging on processed fast food, then guess what? You've basically ruined your fast and your urges for cheap dopamine from porn are just going to skyrocket. And people who are new to the world of fasting might fall victim to this because they are just so hungry during the fast that they just decide to stuff their face with processed food when it's time to break their fast. What I would recommend is that you keep your meals ready in advance. Have them prepared in advance so that you're not making decisions when it's time to actually break your fast. All you have to do then is eat what is available and what you had actually planned for. Secondly, I would recommend that you ease into fasting. Let me tell you briefly about how your body produces energy to function without getting too technical with it. It basically has two ways of producing energy. Number one is using the food that you eat, and the second one is by burning off the fat that you have. When you are in a fasted state, you are basically relying on your body's ability to use your fat as fuel. However, since you have probably not fasted in quite a long time, your body's ability to use this fat as fuel is not too good at the moment. So you might experience symptoms like hunger pangs, crankiness, discomfort, etc. What I would recommend is that you start with smaller fasts, maybe something like a 14-hour fast, and then every couple of days, increase this fasting duration by a couple of hours. And this will make your fasting symptoms much more manageable, to the point that fasting almost begins to feel effortless. If you would like to work with me in helping you permanently overcome porn addiction by building and implementing systems in your life that do not just help you resist porn, but also optimize your health, get you disciplined, productive, and focused, then make sure that you click on the link in the description and book a call with me. So now you know how to significantly lower your urges to watch porn. However, you can still relapse to those urges if other areas of your life are broken. Fasting alone is not the answer to overcoming this addiction. You need multiple domains of your life operating well in order for you to truly overcome this addiction. One such key area of your life is your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is basically your biological clock, which dictates how you're supposed to be feeling at various points in the day. So ideally, during the day, you're supposed to feel energetic, motivated, just ready to do things. And this allows you access to healthy sources of dopamine from activities like working out, working on your career, reading books, etc. And ideally at night, you're supposed to feel calm and sleepy. And this allows you to wake up early, feeling fully recovered and be in a very good mood. However, if your circadian rhythm is disrupted, then the opposite tends to happen. You are just feeling lethargic and lazy during the day. This causes you to procrastinate the productive tasks, and you're unable to get access to that healthy dopamine, and instead you spend the entire day just doom scrolling. And then the exact opposite thing happens at night. You're just wide awake at night with a million different thoughts in your head. You're just tossing and turning for hours. It's 3 a.m. and right as you fall asleep, your alarm rings, and now you just wake up sleep deprived, unmotivated, with brain fog. This scenario, when your mood and energy levels do not match the time of the day, this puts you in a very vulnerable spot, and you're just so susceptible to relapsing to porn. So I hope you realize just how important it is to fix your circadian rhythm when it comes to overcoming porn addiction. So here are a few things that you can do to fix your circadian rhythm. The first thing you can do is get 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight early in the morning. As soon as you wake up, I would suggest that you go for a quick 15-minute walk. Early morning sunlight signals to the body that, hey, the sun is out, time to get moving. Secrete hormones like cortisol that make you feel awake. Secondly, I wouldn't just limit getting sunlight to just early in the mornings. I would actually recommend that every 90 minutes to 2 hours, you go outside for a quick 10-minute walk. Or maybe even just look outside your window if you don't really want to go out, and get that sunlight in during the early parts of the day. The third thing that you can do is make sure that you eat your meals at regular times. Studies have shown time and time again that eating your meals at random times really disrupts your circadian rhythm. So fix 2 or 3 times in your routine when you're actually going to eat, and only eat food during those times. Stop this habit of snacking randomly with random things. The fourth thing that you can do is fasting. Research has shown that fasting is really beneficial when it comes to having a robust circadian rhythm. The last thing you can do is around 90 minutes before your bedtime, dim all the lights in your room. Maybe just have a tiny yellow lamp. Because when it comes close to your bedtime, your body naturally begins to produce melatonin, which is a hormone aids in sleep. However, this melatonin production is negatively impacted by bright lights. This could also mean that you do not view bright screens during the night. These are the 2 protocols that I think are highly effective in helping people overcome porn addiction. Drop a like if you think they have helped you.